Good evening, everybody. This is March 1st, Sunday evening. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio. Jeannie White is the producer, and I have a special type of show tonight. It is different. It is a question and answer with my two friends who I love, Lorri Lepore, who helped me start the Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement, and Marcia Burr, who was my first mentor in Dementia Land. And what this show is going to be about is, as you know, on Chatting with Betsy, I will talk about the taboo. I will talk about the uncomfortable till it becomes comfortable. And what I want to talk about tonight is reaching out into the gay and lesbian transgender community. I want to know how to have this community be comfortable to come to a support group, whether it's online or in person, and what stops them. Also, I want to talk about how is the healthcare industry looking at them. Do they have problems going to the doctor when they go to the hospital with their partner or spouse? And this is what I want to talk about today, folks. So I just wanted everyone to know what I'm going to talk about. And thank you for joining me, Lorri and Marcia, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Lorri, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, let me see. I'm 55 years old. I live in North Carolina with my wife, Michelle. We've been together for 20 years. We've been married for 15. Well, technically a civil union, not necessarily married yet, but for 15 years. And as you know, I joined Kick Alzheimer's Ass because I lost my sister, Mary Jo. Next week will be 1 year ago.
Okay.
And I don't know what else you want me to tell you right now.
That's fine. And you have your business. Beautiful.
I do. I do. It's I call it Meaningful Moments, designed by Lorri. And it started when we started the group with the hashtag Kick Alzheimer's Ass. We had started the group store, which kind of started as a joke because the first logo I had made for the page, we all kind of liked it. It had the punching glove with the cam and kicking Alzheimer's ass, and I forget who had said, one of us had said, oh, that would look cool on a T-shirt, and then the next thing you know, boom, the store was created.
Right.
And then I just took it a step into my own personal things. I have the one for the store, and then I have my own personal store as well.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for doing all that you do for Kick Alzheimer's Ass. I appreciate it. And Marcia, tell us about yourself. Good evening.
So what do you want to know? Just a brief history, huh?
Yeah, well, like what you're doing about your life craft and...
Yeah, let's see. I spent a third of my life with Gay Donna. It's been longer now, but while she was alive, almost 20 years. And I met her last millennium when I was in X-ray school. We both found out we had the same birthday. We loved the same things, rocks, photography, science, so many things the same. It was mind-boggling. And we didn't realize she had Alzheimer's until, 2010. And I didn't believe it the first year, honest to God. I was in the middle of getting my own life back in order at that time as well. But, I have a medical background.
Hi. I don't know what happened. This is Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio, Sunday evening, March 1st. And I want to welcome Lorri, Lorraine Lepore to the show, and Marcia Burr. Go ahead, Lorri. Marcia, I don't know what happened. It just shut off.
It's all good. It's all good. We learn to roll with things. Anyway, so I spent almost 2 decades with Gay Donna, and we went through the dementia care partner journey together, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it's also been the most rewarding. And before she died and she could still talk, we had a vision, and she wanted people to know about it. And that's where it's led me today. My goodness, it'll be 4 years since she died this coming April. And I look back and I go, wow, what a journey. I started a local support group here in Williston, Florida called the Life Raft. It's small, but we make things happen, and we attend parades and health fairs and do fun things together. And I'm very involved with the Alzheimer's Music Fest, which I didn't even meet Vince Zangaro or hear about him until after Gay Donna died, which I thought was quite interesting. And then here just this past week, I've been, busy. I've been appointed to the board of directors for Elder Options, which is my area's name for the Department of Elder Affairs in Florida, but it's specific to this area, but it's the largest one. We cover 16 counties. There's 11 different areas in Florida, and we're area number 3, PSA 3, and it covers 16 counties from the Florida-Georgia line all the way down like to Mount Dora. It includes Tampa and Orlando and the Villages, which is America's largest, fastest-growing aging population. So I'm busy.
Wow.
The Music Fest is 2 weeks away from today.
Wow, that's great. Lorri, can you do your little thing about yourself again, because the recording had stopped. I don't know why. That's the first time that happened.
Okay. I was saying I was 55 years old. I live in North Carolina with my wife, Michelle. We've been together for 20 years, and we had a civil union in Vermont 15 years ago. Almost 16 years ago. And we live in North Carolina, like I said. I was caregiving for my sister who had primary progressive aphasia and dementia for the last 2 years here. My sister originally lived in Florida with my mom, and after she got diagnosed 2 years back, I had brought her here to, be caregiver and help her. And we were talking about I had helped you with the starting the group CAM, Kick Out Someone's Ass movement. And we were talking about I started a store. I like to do T-shirts and like artsy things. But mostly what I enjoy doing, I'm trying to think of how I describe it. I like to create memories for people, and I like to take pictures of our loved ones and give people memories. Certain things. I had just worked on one for Betsy with Matt, and like a childhood picture, teenager, when you're married picture, your marriage picture, and then as he was older. But I like to do, special little things like that. And we also have the group store, the CAM store, which had started as a joke, because when we started the group, we were talking about the logo picture. And one of us had said, that would look awesome on a T-shirt. I want that on a T-shirt. And then I had set it up. We started it from there. And we welcome everybody to come check it out because we have several different designs and stuff. And any proceeds, we are a nonprofit. Any proceeds, anything that we make from sales on the group will be given back to caregivers in gift cards so that they could do something nice for themselves, and or it will be donated to a nonprofit organization that helps with dementia and for respite care, such as Marcia with the Life Raft and the Music Foundation that you're just talking about.
And thank you, Lorri, for everything that you do for me, and you do a beautiful work. I have to throw that in, a gorgeous, gorgeous work. And I want to ask Marcia, in your opinion, what can support groups do to make the gay community feel comfortable in a support group, whether it's in person or online? What do you think stops people from joining?
Well, I don't know. I have mixed thoughts on that. Number one, the LGBTQ community where I live is very diverse, and because of my age frame, I've had to be an activist my whole life, and I've learned how to network with local people to make things happen. I mean, I had to fight for my right to love who I love. And the thing about it is, though, is I'm not militant. I mean, I don't walk up to you and go, shake your hand and go, hi, I'm a lesbian, and by the way, my name's Marcia. I mean, who does that, you know?
Right.
So I think the best thing to do is what I tell everybody anyway, tell your stories. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Be your authentic self, the whole spectrum of it. I mean, that doesn't mean I have to go out and have a drama scene and, you know, wear my sleeve, not just, wear my heart not just on my sleeve, but throw it out in the middle of the highway to get run over. But I can accept those feelings and be authentic with myself. And I think in groups, first of all, yes, LGBT community is a minority, so you're going to have smaller numbers of members from the get-go. Number two, the ones I know are pretty independent-minded, and they're just like, well, we're just going to go make this thing happen. Now, saying that, I'm not in any strictly LGBT care partner group. I haven't heard of one, and there's no need. Just like I haven't heard of a Republican one or a Democratic one. You know, what's the point of all of that? Because we're talking to a common ground that is affecting the entire world. So be yourself, tell your stories, and be open with people. You know, you don't have to hush. Ask questions if you have them. To me, my way of thinking, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
Amen.
Yes, that's true. You have to be yourself. And what's your opinion, Lorri?
Well, I agree with Marcia a lot. When I went into the caregiving groups, I didn't even question about the gay issue because, like Marcia said, we don't just walk in and grab a banner and say, "Hey, I'm gay," We were there for a different reason, for a different cause, and I basically did like Marcia said. I was just being myself, and I was there for my sister, but I also had Michelle, and she played a huge part in that. So I didn't really even care at the moment who was going to be offended or who wasn't. I just kind of put it out there. And like in the stories, I didn't come out and say, hey, I'm gay, but I did say at times like, my wife Michelle. And obviously I'm a woman, she's a woman, you know. I don't think I've had anyone in the group that shunned me or anything like that. Everybody seemed to be pretty welcoming and friendly about it still. Some people, you know, they may or may not agree with it, but I don't think we're there really to judge the person for their sexual preference or stuff like that in those groups. And like Marcia said, I haven't seen any groups that are specifically made for, you know, the LGBT community.
You know, I never thought about the LGBT community having their own support groups for people who are care partners. I never even thought about that. And it's not as Marcia said, it's not, you know, like, okay, Democratic or Republican, you don't go in there and say, hey, I'm a Democrat and I'm a caregiver. It's really a human being issue. And that's what it is. It affects, you know, people, all genders, colors, and nationalities, and financial, and all that. I'd like to ask you, Lorri, do you feel that you and Michelle get treated differently by the medical community when you go into a doctor's office or a hospital?
Again, it's like on an individual basis. It's like who you go to and that person, what, you know, how they are. The doctor that we have now, she absolutely adores us. Although she kind of made me a few weeks ago, but that's because she knows us a little too personally. But one of the doctors I went to years ago, she seemed to have an issue with it, and you know, like I felt like, yeah, I was being treated differently. I felt like she was afraid to come near me, like to touch me and stuff like that, and I just got away from her real quick. Like I was like, you know, we have enough to deal with society and stuff like that, and even sometimes family members and all. So I know me personally, I'm not like that, and most of the gay people that I know we're welcoming. We're open to everybody. I used to say, this might be a little off subject, but years ago, when we would go to the clubs and stuff, we could bring as many straight friends with us as we wanted to a gay club. And people would never say, oh, you're straight, get out. But on the alternative, I could go to a straight club with my friends, and the minute you say you're gay, they're like, you're not really welcome here. So, you know, to me, it depends on the individual person. But at times, you can be treated differently, yes.
Okay, and how about you, Marcia? What's your opinion?
Interesting question. I'm from the medical field, and when I had to advocate for Gaydonna's health care, I took her often. We had to go to the very ER that I used to work in, but time had passed since I'd worked in there, and there's all new people. There's new doctors in there every year. It's a teaching hospital. So I had to pretend I was her sister. No kidding. I was her sister, and that's how it was. And her family's cool. I mean, her brother's gay. Her oldest sister's fine with all of that stuff. And that wasn't so much an issue. And I know how to navigate the medical system well enough that it's like a moot point. What's important is the health care and what is happening. And so, interestingly enough, though, because I was in the medical field in a Florida college town, the area where I felt the most discrimination was actually at work. And there was an instance in the radiology department. Let me tell you, X-ray techs have some sick humor. And if you work in the ER, you kind of have to have dark humor just to get through the night, you know. But
exactly.
Anyway, this one guy that worked in the radiology department, we had students come and do rotations there. So we were teaching new professionals the field, and there's ethics and things, you know. It's professional. I had to pass a national board exam. And rumor got out to the students, I've come to find out, and I don't really care. I can joke with the best of them, but he's now nicknamed me Penis Tits. I'm not kidding. I find out this guy is calling me Penis Tits, and I'm like, what does that even mean? You know, I mean, I could figure it out, of course, but I put my foot down then. And I didn't explode at him. I just took him aside. I said, hey, man, I draw the line. That is not cool. I have half a mind to go to Karen, who is the supervisor over the whole department, and have a talk with her about this. And so he quit. So I didn't put up with it, but I found it interesting that as far as treating patients, the LGBT issue really wasn't. But as far as a working environment, that's where I saw it.
That's interesting. And I know a lot of work environments now teach sensitivity to different cultures. I know it's very big where I live. I live in New Jersey, and we're very multicultural. And there's a huge gay and lesbian transgender community in New Jersey, and of course New York City. And it's interesting because, you know, we talked about having this show before Matt passed away, and last week I was telling in my local paper there was a huge article about getting gay, lesbian, transgender medical students into being doctors so that they can reach out to that community to understand. Do you think that's, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you think that singles people out?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you can
answer it. Well, it's very interesting where I live because the actual town I live in is like 30 years behind the time, and it's kind of conservative, independent-minded folks, you know, live and let live, and we take care of our own kind of attitude. And then there's Gainesville, 30 minutes away, college town, and it's a big, huge medical hub, huge in the country. Some of the best doctors work there. And, you know, they have very, very well, like top 25 departments all over the board. And I forgot where I was going with this, but what we have available is actually there is a medical clinic offered to the LGBT community in Gainesville. I know the woman. I've never met her, but I'm friends with her. And it's there, services provided. And so that's a very cool thing. And then there's another very good national organization called SAGE, sageusa.org. And they have a whole national center on LGBT aging. And you can look it up online. There's all kinds of stuff for the LGBT community at large. There's a hotline number that people can call. And so there is a network of resources in my area. And I know that's not the case everywhere, but I'm here to tell you that it's very possible because, hey, I've helped build it over the past 30 years.
Oh, thank you for the information, Marcia. And what's your opinion, Lorri?
I was just going to thank her as well because I'm going to be needing to contact them sometime soon. I agree. I also, God, I just lost track of myself. I had a scare here 7-8 years ago. Michelle, when she was 49, she had almost had a heart attack. And I know, Marcia, I know you had one as well. They had put her in for an emergency quadruple bypass. And here in North Carolina, there's a lot of gay people, which I was shocked because North Carolina is like behind the times too, way behind the times. And I was a little leery about that when she got sick because I was like, oh God, what's going to happen here? Like, am I going to have to fight to get in to see her and all this? But, you know, mind you, that was like 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. I got to say that they didn't give me one problem whatsoever, and I was shocked. But as far as like the doctors and stuff like that, I don't know that it would make a difference to me. Like, I think in certain situations, yeah, again, here we go, it could be better for the patients because they have somebody who understands and this, but I don't think it would make much of a difference. Like Marcia said, it's the illness that you're worried about. You know what I mean? I don't go there like it's a popularity contest. I don't really give who if they like me or not. I was worried about saving my life. You know?
Right.
And, but they were very helpful, and I was losing it completely that night. And in fact, one of the nurses came in the room because I had my knees and my head, and I was going back and forth. Like, I thought that was it because they were saying it was really bad. And I kept blaming myself. I was like, this is my fault. She smoked cigarettes because of me. She ate cheesesteaks because of me. And the nurse came in, and she sat with me for at least a good half an hour. And she talked to me, and she was like, you know, if you knew it was going to hurt your wife, would you have done it? And I was like, no. And she's like, exactly. So you can't blame yourself. It wasn't done intentionally. You didn't shove the food or cigarettes in her mouth. You know, it could have been you, which is all true. But I don't really worry about that too much. Betsy, when I go, I see the workers, and I'll know, like, oh, I call them cousins. I go, oh, look, a cousin. You know, if I see a gay person, but I find them a little bit friendlier than most of the staff.
Yeah, as I was telling you before we recorded, as a straight person, I never thought really of the gay community having different health issues other than AIDS before it crossed into the heterosexual population. You know, and that's back in the 80s. So I didn't even think, oh, well, how would a health issue or your health care be any different than my health care? But maybe the doctor, and it's all individual, or the, nurses or whoever might treat you differently because of their own, biased prejudice, or whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
As a nurse, and I was a nurse in the hospital, so it was a long time ago. Let's say Josh is going to be 36. They're talking about 36 to over 40 years ago. It never entered my mind ever to treat anyone differently. So, but this is me, and everyone's, it's the individual thing. And as far as, we have a support group on Facebook, and I keep saying when I do the show, we welcome people from all walks of life. I want people to feel comfortable in Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement. And I think people should feel comfortable no matter where they go into different support groups. And I have to say, Marcia, the one thing that attracted me to you, and I had to get to know you, was when I first saw your picture of Gadana. And you said that, this is Gadana, this is your wife. And I said, I love this woman. I love her boldness. I love her passion. And I have got to get to know you. And ironically, we went into the same support groups and got to know each other.
Here's something interesting that I've noticed over the years is that people come into this journey at different times, and so there's different trends and people floating around, and they join into, it seems like you hit sort of a core of people that like go through the journey with you. And that was the case with you and me. Right, truly. It was. But I was thinking on some of this stuff about the medical system and the LGBT community, and I have to say, as like a member of both, that there's probably a higher percentage of gay people that work in the medical field than other fields. There's a lot of gay LGBT people that work in the medical field. I'm here to tell you. It's the truth. And so that's why I don't see a lot of that discrimination bias in the treatment. But when you're talking about a work culture in a southern Florida town, then that plays into the picture. Actually, excuse me, do you want to hear the biggest piece of what I consider discrimination that I'm now having to deal with in my life, being a lesbian? All right. My wife and I were married. I met her on I remember September 27th, 1997. I was in X-ray school doing a rotation, and she was working at the VA where I had a rotation. And then 2 years later, about on our birthday, we got married. We had a hand fasting ceremony on the beach at sunrise. And those were our vows, and we didn't need a piece of paper. And we were together all this time, and, Y2K, and we owned a business together and traveled across the country together, and our parents died, and, life. And so finally, in 2015, the Supreme Court said that we could have a piece of paper that said she was the bride and I was the groom. They hadn't even corrected the paperwork yet. Okay? And so according to law, pieces of paper, we were married 9 months. We were newlyweds just about when she died. Now, according to law, I'm applying for spouse survivor benefits, right?
Right.
Well, you have to be married 9 months to qualify. Do you know what they're telling me? That we weren't married 9 months. We were only married 8 months and 30 days. Oh, I'm not kidding. No, I am so, when I got this news, I got a bunch of other news all at the same time, and I had to prioritize how I was dealing with them. And that went on the back burner, and I'm so irritated with them that I'm still almost too pissed to pull it out and start dealing with it. But that's what I'm looking forward to now, is appealing that this was my wife that I married last millennium.
I was going to ask, Lorri, how did you meet Michelle? You might tell me that.
No, this is funny. We actually met, back in '99 on the internet. There was when AOL had first come out, and there was like a site to meet people on. I think it was called Love AOL. And Michelle was married prior to, and she was divorced from her husband, and she had already moved on. But we decided to meet up, and we were like writing some things, emails back and forth to each other, and we decided to send pictures to each other. And she sent me a picture of her with her ex-husband in it, and I was like, why the heck is she sending me a picture with him? And I sent her a picture, but I didn't have any recent pictures. I only had one from me from 10 years younger. And then we decided to go meet up and have a beer or whatever, meet a friend of hers in Philly. I lived in Jersey at the time, South Jersey. And I showed up 2 hours late, Betsy. I was 2 hours late because I got lost, and I was riding around. I was like, she's probably not even going to be there. I got there. She was still there with her friend, slightly 2 sheets to the wind. And we liked each other as friends, but we were not, like, attracted to each other or anything like that. We just, we talked and everything, and we became friendly, and we started hanging out. And then maybe a month or so afterwards, then we started to connect, and we started to like things about each other and stuff. So we laugh and we tell people, because we were like, when we first met, we didn't even really like each other.
Oh, that's nice. I just, as a person growing up in the 70s, and, I'm 62, I remember my cousin, he was second cousin, my mother's first cousin, and I met him a couple of times. And I didn't know this till probably 3 years ago, that he was kicked out of his house for being gay. And later on, my cousin committed suicide. He was probably maybe 40s or 50s when he did that. But when I heard that, it really broke my heart, because I have a son, and I could never picture throwing my child out of the house because of who he loved. Now, that might not have been my dream for him, that, Josh decided that he was gay. That may not have been what I had planned, but I would never throw my son out on the street and pretend that he was not born. I don't know how people do that. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't. I love my son too much. And, people have done that to their children, and then they go out on the street and, get into serious trouble. And I just think that if people would just realize, if we cut our bodies open, we all bleed red blood. It doesn't matter who you are. Our heartbeats beat. And if people would just be kind to each other and more compassionate, this would be a wonderful world. And I know, Marcia, you say all the time, the way we live in dementia land is really the way the world should live. Live in the moment, live in the now, love up on your person, show love, show companionship. This is what the world needs. And I want to tell listeners out there, you need to go on Marcia Burr's YouTube channel and watch her beautiful videos that she does to raise awareness. Beautiful videos. And I want to thank you, Marcia, for coming on, and you, Lorri, for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. Lorri, I'm going to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom out there?
Well, I don't know so much of words of wisdom, but I would like to, I did want to say that when we were talking, when I first came into the group and stuff, and we actually do have a couple of gay people in the group and stuff. But when I first came across Marcia and heard her story with Gay Donna, I was like, wow. And I was like, same like you were saying, Betsy, she's bold. She's like, this is awesome. And at the same time, I felt so bad for her because I was like, wow, I can't even imagine. Like, I had my scare, like I said, with Michelle. That was bad enough. I can't even conceive right now of actually if I had actually lost her. And I admire Marcia so much because she knows so many things. She does so much for the community. She does the videos. I love reading the stories about her and Gay Donna. I could read them like I used to tell you in the beginning, right, Marcia? It's like, wait more stories, wait more stories. I would go buy the book. If she wrote a book, I would do this. But I just want to say thank you, Marcia, because you do a phenomenal job on the videos and keeping all our loved ones' spirits alive and helping those that are just going through it, newbies as well.
And how about you, Marcia?
Well, thanks for that, Lorri and Betsy. I've been a photographer forever, and I started making videos at Pride, Gainesville Pride. And, there's a big parade, and then we end up downtown at Bo Diddley Plaza. And there's bands that play into the evening, and it's a great day. And that's what I started making videos. I have a bunch of them from different years, going all the way back to like 1995. And then when I got in the dementia journey, I had a big shift. And I make videos because it's my zen. And I feel them, and they're a creative thing that feed me. And they tell stories, and that's what I'm all about, really. At the end of the day, I'm a storyteller. And I want the world to share their stories because I like hearing them, too. The world needs to hear our stories. It's what
Amen.
Right. And I think as an LGBT person who's been through the Dementiaville journey, the best and smartest thing I know for our community to do, and the whole entire care partner community as well, is that to make things happen, it's an inside-out job. And that means start local. If you're gay, where you live, find out about do you have a gay community center? What's the bars? You can find out information there from maybe some bookstores that might still be around. So find out who's who, where you are. And that's how you build networks, by going and meeting people and talking with them. And one thing leads to another, another. And that's why we're here talking tonight, Betsy, because all those ripples rolled out, and they're still rolling into what's coming next.
That's right. And Marcia always talked about telling her stories, even writing a book, the coffee book, remember? And
yes.
I recall that.
Yes. And we've been through a lot together, and I always honor Donna on your anniversary of her passing, and I always will, as you taught me about the happy place. And even though I thought you were crazy at first, I know you were right, and I thank you for that. And that's our show, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passion World Talk Radio. Jeannie White is the producer. You can check me on my own personal page on Facebook, Betsy Wurzel, Wurzel. Lorri, can people get in contact with you on your Facebook page? And Marcia?
Absolutely.
My wall's public. And I also have a page for for the Life Raft, which is our local support group here in Williston. But it's an open page. Anybody can look at it. It's just the journal of what we do here in our little town of 3,000 people.
Absolutely.
And how about you?
They could reach me on my page, Lorri Lorraine Lepore. They could also reach me through the Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement if they'd like. And if I don't respond to you for whatever reason, just please send me a message. Let me know. It's about the dementia and stuff, because sometimes you know how it is. You get some strange people and you don't realize they're with one thing. So
yeah.
If I don't respond for whatever reason, just send me a message. Let me know.
Okay.
And I
Thank
will set you right.
Thank you. And we, on Kick Alzheimer's Ass movement, we welcome all dementias, people from all walks of life, people who don't even have a person with dementia in their family. They just want to be educated. If you want to be educated, inspired, feel empowered to advocate for yourself and your loved one, please check us out and join us. And I wish you all a good night until I talk to you again. Remember, you are a light. Shine bright. Don't let anyone put out your light. Be who you are and love who you are. Good night, everybody. Thank you.